I had a gun pointed to my head. Get that fucking trash out of your life. You have legacies to build. We grew that business from 3.4 million to 17.1. Horsepower, not horse shit. You want to be the parent that's an ally. They don't need another fucking friend. Not everybody's cup of whiskey. Toughest advice for the toughest businessmen. Be relentless. The great copywriting legend, the late great Gary Halbert, the Prince of Print, had a principle when it came to writing copy, when it came to writing to sell, when it came to marketing and advertising. Halbert always talked about A pile mail versus B and C pile mail. He always talked about the importance of A pile mail versus B and C. And he told the incredible story back in the day when he was beginning as a marketer and as a copywriter. He was struggling to make any of his sales letters work. He would write sales letters to sell different products. That's what he was doing. That was his career at the time. He was a freelancer. He would write copy for other businesses, but mostly he would write copy for himself, trying to sell products and services that he created. And he was struggling, and he tells the story of sitting in his living room one evening at by the dining room table, and him and his wife are sitting there on the couch, and they're stuffing envelopes, they're licking stamps, and they're hand addressing envelopes, and they're sitting in the pitch dark. They're sitting in the pitch dark because they have no power in their home. The power was shut off because Gary couldn't pay the electrical bill. And he tells this incredible story, and I find it incredibly motivating and inspirational because of how difficult marketing and advertising can be, how challenging any part of business can be. We sometimes think that we're the only person struggling as entrepreneurs. We look around, you see on anti-social media, and you see all these make millions, make billions success stories. And we get duped into thinking that we're the only person who's really struggling. When in fact, entrepreneurship is a struggle. Being in business, like I heard the quote one time, being in business is just moving from one failure to another with enthusiasm. I always love that. I wrote that down. I keep that in my journal. Moving from one failure to the next with enthusiasm. That is a slick machine. And they don't have to pay somebody to stand on the back like they do in Canada and pay a couple of guys tomato cans to stand on the back and spill the garbage everywhere and spill the recycling everywhere. That trash truck is just a claw, picks it up, boom. And just looking in the neighborhood here, I don't see one piece of garbage, not one piece of garbage. He's done this whole street, and I don't see one piece of garbage that's littered on the ground. After our trash is picked up back home in Canada, my God, you drive from town out to the lake where we live, and it's just in every person's driveway where the trash containers were picked up. You got spillage, you got litter, you got it all over the place. So in one case, you have if you don't have the guys that have the pride to do it properly, then automate it. I have no mercy when it comes to that. If you can't find people that have pride to do a job, then automate it. So every one of those trash trucks back there, that's minus 2 jobs. because the job clearly wasn't being done properly. I know it wasn't being done properly where we come from. That's the automation and technology we need. So Halbert was sitting there with his wife and they're stuffing envelopes, and he said at the time, he was following the advice of all these other mentors and copywriters. And he wasn't winning, he was losing. He would send 1,000 letters, he would send 5,000 letters, and then nothing. In those days, he would be asking for checks in the mail. He would be asking for, things like he would be selling books or he would be selling tapes. Whatever it was he was selling, it was not working. So he turned to his wife and he said, here they are sitting in their home and the lights are turned off. They don't have heat. They don't have any air conditioning. And he said, I can't listen to these so-called gurus anymore. He said, literally, I have a gun to my head. He said, if this next sales letter doesn't work that we're stuffing right now in the dark, he says, if this doesn't work, sweetheart, he said, we're done. He said, literally, we're done. He says, I don't have any more money for stamps or for envelopes. I don't have any more money for postage or printing. He said, we have one more opportunity. And he said, then I'll be broke. Then I'll be bankrupt. We're already broke, but we'll be bankrupt and we'll be done. We'll lose the house. We'll lose the cars. We'll lose everything. And he had small children at the time. So a guy with a lot of motivation to make something work. So that's where the reference of gun to your head comes from, when that's a term that Gary talked about and invented, gun to your head. And what he means is, when it comes to writing copy or your marketing or an email or shooting a video, anything you do in terms of marketing, you have to have a gun to your head mindset. And you don't. Trust me, you don't. The greats have a gun to their head mindset. And it's an extremely harsh and difficult way to work. Admittedly, I have a gun to my head mindset when it comes to writing emails, when it comes to crafting speeches or videos, anything and everything I do, designing a website. I truly have a gun to my head mindset. Mine comes from real life experience in business. So Halbert said, screw this. I'm not following the advice of these so-called experts or fuzzy-headed academics who are, pretend marketers, pretend salesmen. And he said, this last mailing, I'm going to do it my way. But he said, I'm going to do it my way, and if we lose, at least we did it my way. So he talked about it. He said, he asked him, he said to his wife, he said, the question we need to answer is this. If somebody had a gun to my head, if somebody actually had a gun to my head, and if this sales package doesn't work, if it doesn't sell, then boom, I'm done. Gun to my head. My life actually depends on it. My life actually depends on it. He said, if that's the mentality, what would I send? What would I mail? And this was like, when I heard this story the first time, it changed my approach to marketing, because I was pussyfooting around. I was pulling my punches. 20 years ago, I was trying to be liked, not respected. I was trying to be, loved by everybody. I had a general store approach to things, selling multiple things instead of selling one thing, trying to be politically correct. And none of it works. You end up, something for everything is nothing, right? General store approach. If you stand for everything, you'll fall for nothing. That was my approach to marketing. It was like, it was the opposite of gun to your head. I was literally pulling my punches. Oh, I don't want to upset this person. Oh, I don't want to offend that person. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Instead of being 100% authentic and 100% candid and honest. So Halbert sat down and he put together the next package with that exact mindset. What would I do if somebody had a gun to my head and they said, Halbert, this better work? So he said, what kind of an envelope would I mail? And he said, okay, would I send an envelope with all kinds of teaser copy over it, all over the outside? No. He said, I would send an envelope that looked like it was coming from a personal friend. That's A pile. He said A pile is mail that gets automatically opened, and B pile is mail that's in between. It's important, but they know it's not personal when they receive it. And C pile is commercial junk mail. It's the flyers, it's the stuff that says, well, this is from a corporation, it's not from a real person. So he wanted to be an A pile mail. So how could he get into A pile mail where everything gets opened and read? So he said the envelope would be blank, it would be white, it would be handwritten. Would it have a label on it? No, it wouldn't have a label. He said it would be hand addressed in handwriting in blue. He said blue ink. That's how his mom would send a letter. That's how his grandmother would send a letter. That's how a friend would send a letter. Would there be any teaser copy on the envelope? Of course not. A letter from a friend would not have teaser copy on it. Would he use an indicia or bulk postage? Well, the answer there was clearly no. A friend would not send a letter using bulk mail or use a commercial indicia, which is created by a big mailing machine. That's a dead giveaway that it's from a company. So he said, what would I use? I'd use live stamps, and lots of them. I would use stamps, that had personality. I've used stamps of Elvis Presley in the past, of Johnny Cash, Ronald Reagan stamps. I've used Winston Churchill stamps. But most importantly, live stamps. You get a thank you card from me, it's got live stamps and it's hand addressed. You get your telegrams from me, it's hand addressed, envelope with live stamps. You get your newsletter from me, it's covered in a clear envelope with live stamps. So I'm following the A pile mail principle, gun to your head. So then Halbert said, what kind of a letter would I put inside? And he was doing all these, guru sales letters, like this sales pitch, and like a cheap car salesman. And he said, screw that. He said, I'm going to write a letter as if I'm sitting across having a beer, a coffee, or a sandwich with this person. I'm gonna write one-to-one. Just like on these videos, I don't shoot these videos to thousands of people. I shoot them one-to-one. This is you and me on a mini adventure every morning. That's it. It's just a man speaking to another man. I'm no better than you, you're no better than me. It's just a man-to-man discussion. We hash it up, we talk it, you agree, I agree, we disagree, we talk it out like men. We crack open each other's minds. That's what I do, one-to-one. When I write, when I walk, everything I do is in the first person. So he did this with his letters. He wrote the letter as if he was writing to that exact person. So he decided who his target client is. What age are they? What do they do for a living? What part of the country do they live in? Are they married? Are they not? Do they have children? Do they have grandchildren? Are they conservative? Are they right wing? Are they left wing? Are they religious? Are they not religious? Do they enjoy sports? Do they enjoy politics? Do they believe in gun control? Do they believe in the Second Amendment? Everything that matters. And then he sat down and wrote a personal letter, what sounded like a personal letter, to this target avatar client in the first person. Hi, it's Gary, Halbert. And then he spoke to them in their language. He used their language. He's the master of their language. So he was an authentic welcome guest arriving. So they get this envelope and they open it up, They get this envelope in the mail, and it's A-pile mail because it's a plain envelope. It's got live stamps on it. It's hand addressed in their name. So that's what A-pile mail is. They got to open it. And most people in Canada and the United States open their mail over the waste paper basket or the recycling box. So you only have like 1 to 2 seconds for your marketing piece to make it into A-pile. And I was sorting my mail yesterday. I get my mail once a week shipped here to Naples, and I was sorting it over the recycle bin, and it was A, B, and C pile. And the stuff in the A pile, when I was done, got first priority, and it was thank you cards. It was good morning. It was lots of things like that. Like, it was all personal stuff that was hand addressed, live stamp, wedding invitation, that kind of stuff. Letter from my friends, that kind of stuff. So Gary wanted to be in that A-pile mail. So he had the letter too. And then also in the letter, he always had what he called a grabber, something that that grabbed them by the attention, like the eyeballs. He wanted to grab them by the throat, reach out. And so he wrote his famous $1 million letter, where he put a dollar bill letter where he put an actual $1 American dollar bill at the top of one of his letters. And it was an immediate grabber because it's money, it's real money. It was $1. And he would then go on to say, why did I send you this dollar bill? This letter is about money. It's about how you can make even more money. And that was the whole shtick. So amazing, amazing storytelling and writing. So other things he would put in there, maybe a grabber like a pen, maybe a wristband, anything that made it lumpy, what he called lumpy mail. And when you get an envelope and it's an odd shape and it's personalized, you got to open it, right? What's in here? And it could be something as simple as an eraser or a pen or a wristband, what we send, anything that makes it lumpy mail. So Halbert was the king of answering that question. How can I get my mail to be A-pile mail, not B or C? How can I get my mail delivered, opened, and read? If it doesn't get delivered, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't get opened, it doesn't matter. And if it doesn't get opened, it doesn't get read. So that's the 3 things that I teach: delivery, opening, getting it opened, and then getting it read. Any of those steps you trip up on and you don't have any success. Then you're like, whoa, I sent 1,000 letters and I didn't even get one response. Did it get delivered? Did it get opened? And did it get read? So Gary said at the end of the day, he wrote that package with a gun to his head principle. He said, I literally have a financial gun to my head. If this next mailing doesn't work, I'm shit out of luck. I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna lose my car, my children are with me, my wife, I don't have any I don't have any power, I don't have any heat, I don't have any air conditioning. So gun to your head. And I've used that concept of getting into A-pile mail. And consequently, Gary sat down over the next few days and wrote what turned out to be the greatest to this day and most mailed sales letter in history. It's the Gary Halbert coat of arms, the sales letter, and 300 million copies of that letter have been mailed. Think about that for a second. So he went from starving, broke, no electricity, to writing A-pile mail with a gun to his head, and he'd never had a successful campaign up to that point. And what happened? He changed his mindset to gun to your head, A-pile mail, and he was able to write the coat of arms letter, it's called, and he mailed these to families all across America, selling this product. If your name was Kennedy, he had a coat of arms for that name. If your name was whatever Jackson, he had a coat of arms for Jacksons and the family tree. And he literally, to this day, over 300 million letters have been mailed. It made him, at the time, it made him a multi-millionaire almost overnight. He tells stories of going from that house where he was sitting with his wife with no electricity, no heat, and no air conditioning, and no checks, to literally mail bags filling every room with checks. Mailbag, those big brown satchel bags the postal workers have. They used to drop those off at his home, and they were full of checks for the coat of arms. Think about that for a minute. That's why there's opportunity all around us. That's why there's no such thing as it's not working. It's not working yet. You're not winning yet. You're not rich yet. You're not fit yet. Your marriage isn't on fire yet. You're not connected with your children yet. You're not in the best physical and mental shape of your life just yet. There's always a chance, as long as we never, ever stop growing and contributing and improving, getting better every day. From dead broke to 300 million letters sent because of a gun to the head principle. A pile mail. It's interesting. I'm starting up a email millions mastermind. It's $147 a month for civilians, $97 a month for my brothers and people in my tribe. I mean, it's less than $25 a week for me to write an email and for you to personalize it and send it once a week. 52 emails over 52 weeks. I'm going to show businessmen and entrepreneurs how to build a list from zero. I'm going to show them the software to use to build the list, and I'm going to show them how to write weekly, if not more, emails that will literally swamp their business in leads, referrals, and cash flow. And the reason I believe, people ask me this silly question all the time, Michael, what would you do if you could only do one marketing thing right now? What would you do if you could only do one thing? And that's very simplistic thinking, very immature thinking. But to answer that question, if I had a gun to my head, I would say, start building an email list and mail to it. That's it. In 2023, my advice over everything else, over anti-social media, over YouTube ads, Facebook ads, over all this other stuff, even mail. Mail is number 2 for me, because it's not affordable for the new person, the one person lone wolf. So if I'm brand new in business, or I'm a one person insurance agent, or I own a car wash, or I own a flooring company, or I own an insurance agency with 5 employees, or I own a jewelry store, or I'm a coach and consultant, or I'm a real estate agent, the number one thing that every entrepreneur in Canada and the United States needs today is to start building an email list and mailing it. It's that simple. That's your number 1, number 2, and number 3 priority. And if you want to do that on your own, that's great. It just has to be done by anybody that wants to be a successful entrepreneur has to understand you must start building your email list. If you don't have an email list, you need to start building one. I started at 0 in all my companies, and I ended up with hundreds, thousands, and then tens of thousands of emails. In my email millions mastermind, I'm going to show you the scripts to use, the script you can use to capture emails, the scripts your receptionist can use, your executive assistant, anybody that works for you will become an email capturing machine. Another thing is I'm going to write the emails. Each week I'm going to write an email that you can send to your list. The first email is very important. The second email is very important. The third email is very important as you build rapport and you build trust, and also how every email can generate some leads and some referrals and some cash flow into your business. So I'm literally going to write 52 emails over the next year, one per week, for members of this Email Millions Mastermind. The thing is I had a gun to my head. Admittedly, I had a gun to my head back in my first year owning my dad's insurance agency. Everybody hears the big story of how I 5X my dad's business. I was a former professional hockey coach with zero insurance experience. I didn't even have a license. And I was able to triple the size of the agency in the first 36 months, which is dead nuts correct. But what a lot of people don't know is before I could send all these flyers that built the company, all these postcards and all these newsletters, I built McLean Insurance with mail. I killed millions of trees. I'm a proud and unabashed tree killer. So what I did is in the first year, when I'm paying my dad back 30 grand a month for the agency for 10 years, the third month, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't have the money. I don't have the cash flow. I can't pay my dad. So this is where this is where I stumbled into becoming an email marketer. I send an email every day. You get an email from me every single day. You get a video from me every single day. So when I owned the barber shop, we sent daily emails. When I owned McLean Insurance, we sent weekly emails. When I owned, when it comes to my consulting company, we send daily emails. When I owned my hockey team, we sent weekly, sometimes 2 times a week emails. So just the power of emails. So what did that do for me that first year? First of all, it stopped me from going bankrupt because I wasn't going to be able to make that $30,000 payment. And then after a few months, I started to get more leads, more referrals, and all of a sudden I started to have some peace of mind. I could sleep again at night because I knew I had the $30,000 to pay my dad. And life changed for me when I started emailing with a gun to my head. And literally, I applied the Gary Halbert concept of a pile mail. Remember, he talked about doing all the things so that your letter is in the A pile. It gets delivered, it gets opened, and it gets read. One of the concepts I'm teaching in my mastermind, I'm going to do a live training once a month. It's only 90 minutes a month, one training. But one of the things I'm going to teach my brothers is how to do a pile email. A pile email. I'm going to teach them. Nobody does this. I'm going to teach you how to, first of all, get your email delivered. If it doesn't get delivered, if it ends up in a spam filter, if it ends up in a promotional filter, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. So number one, I'm going to teach my guys how to send and create a pile emails, how to get it delivered, how to get it opened, and how to get it read. I'm going to write the subject lines and teach the men how to do it later in their own careers, how to write subject lines that get opened, how to write emails that get delivered, subject lines that get opened, and then, most importantly, emails that get read. If they don't read your email, it doesn't create any goodwill, it doesn't sell the product, it doesn't educate, it doesn't do anything. So I'm going to be teaching a pile email. Most of the emails I see out there, they don't get delivered. They end up in a promotional or a spam box. They don't get opened. So when they don't get opened, they don't have a chance to sell. So good morning. So those are the 3 prongs that I'm going to be working on. A pile email in honor of the great Prince of Print, Gary Halbert. I've been doing email now for 20 years. I've been at this a long time, and I understand what works. Plain text, simple emails that can be created in 10 minutes at the kitchen table or on your laptop at your desk, and sending even 1 email a week can absolutely, good morning, can absolutely, what's that? Oh, I change arms. I go to the bullpen. I made a lady laugh yesterday about this. You hold this gimbal, right? And I said, oh man, that was a long one today. I said I had to call in the lefty 3 times from the bullpen. And she laughed and she laughed and she laughed. I said, then I got to call in the righty when the lefty gets fatigued. And she was laughing at that. I think she was a baseball fan, but she loved the reference of me holding this phone. So anyways, got to have fun with people. Got to make people smile. It's free. And it's good for you too. Get out there and talk to people. Get out of your vehicle. Go get your coffee. Go get your lunch. Talk to people in the restaurant. It's the best fodder for writing, talking to the people that are out there. So that's what I'm going to be teaching is a pile email. You can join my mastermind. It's only $97 a month, $147 for outsiders at emailmillions.coach. Emailmillions.coach. And we're going to start on June 1st, and it's only for 100 men. So if you want to be part of this, you need to sign up today. It's $97 for my newsletter subscribers, for my world builders, for my mastermind guys, and for everybody else, it's $147. When you think about that, like $20 a week for an email, $25 a week for an email that you can send to your list, which I'm going to show you how to build the list. If I'm a 1-person operation, if I don't have any money and I don't have any clients and I don't have any employees, this is like the one thing I want to do this year. I want to build an email list and I want to start mailing it. And it couldn't be any simpler than that. I don't have money to spend on all these marketing projects. I don't have any of those things. And instead I can just, send a simple, inexpensive email every week. When the cash flow starts to begin, you can do what I did, which is I took that cash flow and I reinvested some of it into the marketing of my flyers, my postcards, all of that different stuff. Pickleball on Saturdays, they love it. Sundays too. Pickleball crazy. We just started playing and it's awesome. My wife, Krista, and I, we all play almost every day. It's so awesome. Anybody can play that sport. I'm taking it back to Canada. I'm going to be the pickleball king of Canada. And Krista was laughing at me last night. She said, why don't you just play this sport? You don't have to be the king of it. You don't have to be the pickleball king of Canada. You don't have to be any of that. Just hit the ball and have fun. I love it. I drive her insane. Insane. Emailmillions.coach. Are you kidding me? If you came to me and said, Michael, can you write me an email for my business? I would charge you $5,000 for 1 email, because I know that you're going to make 10, 20, 25, 50, even 100 grand over time by that email. You're going to put it on autopilot and you're going to use it for decades. If you said to me, Michael, can you write me 52 emails, 1 email per year? I would say, okay, I want $150,000 and I want 5% of the profit. Be like doing a sales letter, right? It would be like, I want $150,000 to sit down and write those. I probably want more than that. I ain't gonna do it. and I'd want 5%, which copywriters get on when they write something. I want 5% of what we make. If this is a success, I want in. So no, I'm not charging that. I'm charging you like $20 a week to be in this mastermind, or $25 if you're an outsider. Are you kidding me? You get an email for $25. You get a monthly training for $25 a week. You get an email, what software, you get my 20 years experience for $20, $25 a week. That's insane. The other thing for you guys that can't afford to be in a high-level mastermind, guess who's gonna be in this little mastermind? This Email Millions mastermind. Right, you're gonna have my champions. They're all in there, 100%. You know, you're going to be rubbing shoulders with Bill Gaw. You're going to be rubbing shoulders with Stephen Ivanko. You're going to be rubbing shoulders with Paul Nolte and David Litton. Like, those guys are in my highest level, but they're also in this. And you're going to have all kinds of world builders, top 5%ers in there. Entrepreneurs who want to build a list and want to mail it every day. So you get that added bonus of being in a mastermind with these other elite men. That is just like iron sharpens iron, right? Iron sharpens iron. You make friends, you build relationships. I mean, I can't make it any more of a no-brainer for you. And like I said, I don't care if you sign up or you don't. I really don't. It's not going to change me. I love this. I love this kind of stuff. I love I clearly love writing emails because I write 25 or I write 365 of them a year, so I clearly love doing it. So sign up at emailmillions.coach, and we will get started the first week of June. There'll be a monthly training, and I will have 4 emails for you to send in June. 4 weekly emails. And if you don't have a list like I didn't, you start at 0. We start building the list, 14, 20, 50, 75, 100 people. By the end of the year, you're up to 1,000 people. 1,000 people on your list. And once a week or twice a week, you can send them an email that brings you in leads, brings you in referrals, brings you in questions, brings you in upsell opportunities, cross-sell opportunities, goodwill, and most importantly, cash flow to do more of the other marketing. You want to send flyers, you want to send postcards, you want to send a monthly newsletter. This will help create the cash flow to be able to afford to do that. Emailmillions.coach. Emailmillions.coach. That's it for today. Always remember that gun to the head principle when you're writing. I'm going to teach that in my Email Millions, how to write an email that gets delivered, gets opened, and gets read. Gun to the head. The late, great Gary Halbert. What a crazy motherfucker he was. What a crazy motherfucker. My pal Doberman Dan, he lived with Doberman Dan. Doberman Dan didn't live with him. He lived with Doberman Dan. And they're just the greatest stories ever. What a legend. What a legend. Just getting Halbert to work was like Herculean. And then when he would work, he was like nobody else. I love the Gary Halbert stories. You know, living down in Marathon in the Keys, you know, off the grid, on his boat, rich, poor, went to prison for a while for mail fraud. You thought the Seinfeld episode was just you know, for fun. Oh, no. Gary got wrongfully accused of mail fraud because he was so busy he couldn't refund the money for refunds enough. And of course, the American and Canadian way is to tear down anybody doing well, to go after our heroes, and they did. And he ended up going to Boron prison, club fed, for a few months. And what did he do in there? He wrote a book. He wrote a book called The Boron Letters. The guy was just, you know, people say, oh, he's a legend. Bullshit. You know, people are legends. There's like, legends are like 1% of 1% of 1%. But I can honestly say, from what I've studied and what I've heard from Sir Doberman, man, Gary Halbert was a marketing legend. A legend, an absolute legend, one of a kind, the Prince of Print. gun to your head principle. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.